Steve, I know you're a big whiskey fan. What brand, what type of whiskey is at the top of your list?
Japanese Yamazaki 12.
I haven't even heard of that. Is that, can you get that at a lot of stores?
You can. It's a lot of people are buying it now, so it's getting hard to get hold of, and therefore the price is going up. But it's a really beautiful whiskey. It's just cool.
You've helped so many people achieve their wildest dreams, essentially having lifelong experiences. We can get more into it later, but I'm curious because I'm guessing that you've been able to tag along because you've planned these experiences and made them happen. So what would you say is at the top of your list of something that you've done for a client that was absolutely just an incredible life experience for you?
Well, the perk is that I get to play with it. So I do get to fly around the planet. Probably one of my fondest memories was singing a duet with Andrea Bocelli in the Accademia Museum at the feet of Michelangelo's David while he was warming up for a private dinner party that night.
Yeah.
And bearing in mind, my clients get to go to the dinner and meet Andrea, but for them, they had like a 2.5 hour experience. I was there from 4 o'clock in the afternoon until midnight. So I get like a 6 to 8 hour gig.
Yeah.
And those guys get 2.5 hours and they pay for it. But that was probably one of my fondest recent memories.
So you're sitting there right at the heels of Michelangelo, of his David. Bocelli is, blasting out in his beautiful voice. What are you telling yourself? Are you just like, I hope everything goes right? Or are you like, wow, this is one of those life moments?
No, it was kind of weird. There was a piano there and we went and sat on the plinth, which is at the profile at the side of David. And there's a table set up and everyone's left. The caterers have left. So it's just quiet. You're in a museum with the most iconic statue and we're all chatting away. And all of a sudden he starts going, and starts just practicing his throat. And I just, as he was doing it, I just literally just went, and he stops, turns to his wife, says something in Italian. She looks at me and she says, Steve, what are you doing? And I said, look, I'm in the Accademia at the feet of David next to Andrea Bocelli. I was going for a duet. When would I ever get the chance to sing a duet with Andrea Bocelli again? So she smiles, speaks to him in Italian. He laughs, leans over and goes, stop. But it was...
Classic.
He had a sense of humor on him. But I actually will be completely blunt. I went into cold chills because after that joke and we were relaxing and we were just like shooting the breeze, this had all been put together within a 2.5 day period. And so the flow of getting the Accademia, then getting the permission to have a dinner in there, then getting an Italian singer, then getting Andrea Bocelli, because we got an Italian singer, and then we had to let him go because we had Andrea Bocelli agree. So everything was moving at such speed. I was sat there, and I suddenly got chills of where I was, what I was doing, what I had pulled off. It was incredible. I was just in awe of the whole thing. So I'm like a little kid that gets to play in other people's sandpits, never takes it for granted, and quite honestly think I'm going to get told to stop more often than I do.
An amazing story, and that was one of my favorite stories in Bluefish, in your book. I loved how you made that happen in 2 days. And you're like, how the hell am I going to pull that off? And you called in a favor from someone at the Vatican because you're throwing a wedding for a couple at the Vatican. Yeah. So just so incredibly impressive, and definitely want to get more into how you make everything happen, make the impossible happen. But want to get to know you a little bit more first. So,
okay.
Steve, what are you most passionate about?
My family.
Awesome. What do you think about most?
Probably my family. Just keeping them safe and secure. And I got 3 kids, so you always wonder what the world's going to be like in the next 5, 10, 15 years as we see it change so rapidly now. That I end up thinking about.
Yeah, and where do you see it going?
It's a tough life at the moment, and I think when anyone out there that has kids, they spend most of their time being a little bit scared of what the future holds. So I just try to teach my kids to be confident, resilient, and as an entrepreneur, to get comfortable in being uncomfortable.
I'm definitely very familiar with that feeling. So you shared some advice that you'd give to your kids. What would you say is some of the best advice that you've ever received?
It's funny, you can get advice from business icons, and you can get advice from the valet boy. The trick is to listen to everyone and just ignore what doesn't work. You'll be amazed at what you hear that will make no impact, will be of no intent to you whatsoever, and then 20 years later will just come straight out of nowhere, will come back into your memory, and you'll go, now I get it. I remember my dad one day walking through London with me, wasn't even looking at me, put his hand on my shoulder as we're walking and turned around and went, "Son, no one ever drowned from falling in the water. They drowned by staying there." And then he lights up a cigarette and we carry on walking. And I remember being like 16, 15 years old going, fuck was that supposed to mean? You know, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
He never responded, never answered. And I'm like, well, that was some weird shit, you know. And then it wasn't probably until about 10, 12 years later, I was like, got you, Dad. I know where that came from now. And that's been probably one of my favorites.
Beautiful wisdom. And that's in your book as well. You've created all these experiences, and I read in your book that you consider yourself to be a more simple person. You're passionate about whiskey and your family and adopting dogs and collecting bikes. My question is, what drives you?
A simple life.
Yeah, okay.
I don't like complication. I find that if it's complicated, it's because either it doesn't make sense and you're just trying to sound smarter than you are, or that I haven't met someone that can explain it to me. And I've had some amazing technology explained to me by people like Elon Musk and Peter Diamandis that have been able to put it in a simplified manner. So I believe that stuff doesn't have to be complicated. And if you're making it sound complicated, then that's probably because you don't really understand what you're talking about. So I strive for a very simple life, and I want to be impossible to misunderstand.
What are you most afraid of?
Being in that one I can answer very, very easily. Being in the exact same position next week as I am today. I'm a great believer in growth. That could be trying a new piece of food at the sushi restaurant. It could be driving down a different road on the bike that I haven't been down before. But I want to make sure every week, every day, every month, every year, I've progressed, I've grown. And that can quite often mean failing. You know, trying something new and going, bloody hell, that hurt, or that's disgusting, is an education in not to eat that again. So I'm frightened of being stagnant.
It's a beautiful fear to have.
It's a great fear, and it's one that pushes me forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Beautiful. What is something that is real for you right now in your life? You know, this show is all about being real, and I find in a lot of podcasts and a lot of people who are out there sharing on big platforms, they'll give you their highlight reel or share something that was real for them maybe last year or a couple of years ago. What's something that's real, perhaps challenging for you in your life right now?
Well, that's two things. I'm always challenging myself. Because I don't want to be stagnant. What's real for me at the moment, and actually kind of like been a real kick in the testicles, is the response I've got from this book. And I'm not going to, get on a halo moment or anything, but I didn't expect it.
You're welcome to.
Thank you. I didn't expect it. I wanted to give something that was simple to action and simple to understand. But the response I've got has actually kind of like caught me unaware. And that's become very real for me. And I'm getting communication from people that I've never met, that I've never heard, and I'm hearing stories. And you can't take that shit lightly. It does knock you, and you suddenly go, I've done something that's lit a fuse, that's instigated something, that's activated someone, that's woke someone up. And you can't take that lightly. And that's a very real moment for me at the moment.
What is your intention these days?
To keep doing what I'm doing. I love being challenged. I love it when I get these emails and people are kind of like, hey, can I talk to you because I've got a dream of doing this, or people referring to clients to me so that I can start getting in different things. But I love constantly growing. I'm a great, the elastic band philosophy. I love playing in other people's sandpit. I love being able to get peek behind doors and curtains and go, oh, that's how you do it. So I'm an inquisitive little, as I always say, I'm a 51-year-old, 4-year-old. I love to constantly be that little kid that just goes, why can't we do that? Why can't we try that? And my kids and my wife moan about it, but I think at the same time they also love that attitude, because I see it every now and then where my boy or my daughter will just kind of like go and try something. I'll be like, why did you do that? You can't do that. And they said, well, no one told me I couldn't do it, so I just tried it. And I'm like, okay. And you walk away going, that's my kids, So you do... My challenge is to constantly become different and try different things, and that's what keeps me happy at the moment.
And last question of this rapid fire round for you, Steve. This show is called The One and Only. The premise, there's 7 billion people on this planet, and there's only one of each of us. So what makes you the one and only? What makes you one of a kind?
Damn you. I know you want a brief answer on this, and I can't give you one.
Okay. Flow, baby.
The thing, this is what pisses me off. You've got me aggravated now. Everybody wakes up, and the second they want to do a job or get into a career, they conform to the perception of what they think everyone wants to be. You want to get in a tech industry, you buy your hoodie and your Vans, and you think you're mad. You're made. You want to become a stockbroker, you buy a pinstripe suit. You conform. Yet 5 minutes before that stupid decision of changing yourself, you were unique. Now, I'm an East London biker that drinks too much whiskey and doesn't pay enough attention with his health. But that's me. There's no one else in the planet like me. And the good thing about it, it takes zero effort to be me. So I can paste all of my attention on you, the client, you, my consulting client, you, my audience I'm speaking to. I can give you 100% attention because none of it needs to be placed on the perception that I think you need to see. And I think everyone is unique before they start screwing it up, diluting it, and trying to play in someone else's vision.
Beautifully said. Welcome to the show, the one and only Steve Sims. Pleasure to have you here.
Appreciate it, pal. Thank you.
Yeah, I was really stoked, when our friends introduced us, because I get pitched a lot of people to have on the show, and most people I'm like, wow, they have a really incredible story, and I only release one episode a week, so it's sometimes tough for me to choose who do I want to have on the show. One of the big criteria is they need to be in LA because I love to do the interviews face to face, but when I got the opportunity to interview you and I watched a couple of your videos online and just read your articles, I'm like, holy moly, this is a no-brainer for me. You're just so bold and honest, and you walk the talk. You don't only just share, your feelings, whatever. You've created this incredible life for yourself and are super duper bold and authentic, just like you just said in a little rant there. So welcome to the show. For everyone who is listening, Steve is incredible. He creates these out of world experiences. He makes the impossible happen. He is an author now. He is a speaker. He's been said to be the real-life Wizard of Oz, and which is incredible. You've been featured in the Wall Street Journal, in Forbes, the London Sunday Times, and you've been spotted out with Elon Musk and all these incredible visionaries in the world, Tony Robbins, Steven Tyler, the list goes on and on and on, and it's just an honor to have you here on the show.
Thank you, pal. I appreciate it.
Is there anything that I missed out of that intro that just needs to be said?
I'm a normal person.
I don't believe that.
And actually rather boring. I like to barbecue and adopt dogs and just chill.
Well, it's an honor to have you here.
Thank you.
And there's so many different things that I want to talk to you about in this episode. It's the resilience that you have when you're given, when your clients make these outrageous asks, to sing with Journey, which is something that you did for one of your clients, and space travel, and all the list goes on and on and on, Steve. It's never ending, and I can't even imagine what your first gut reaction is when someone asks you for something that's never been done before. So let's just start there. What is your reaction when you ask them what their dream is, and they tell you exactly what it is because you call bullshit on it the first couple times you ask.
Yeah, there's a few questions in there, or a few statements you made there. For a start, it's only impossible until someone does it. Okay, and if you look at something as impossible, then you've just shot yourself in the foot. Why handicap yourself straight off the bat? So if you want to do something, people will come up with a 400-page PowerPoint on why it can't be done. I'll come up on it with a paragraph of why it should be done, and I want to go with that one. The other thing that does make me smile and laugh and cringe at the same time is that people will have a dream. Yet when they tell that dream to someone else, they will dilute it. They're embarrassed about revealing what really turns them on, what really gets them aroused. So people will come to me and they will have a dream of doing something, but they will dumb it down when they come to me. So they'll say to me, like the Journey thing, they'll come to me and they go, oh, yeah, I'd really like to meet Journey, shake their hands, hang out. And you go, okay, great, I hear what you say, that sounds brilliant, just want to ask, why is that? And they go, I like the band. That's great. So let me just check this. I get you to actually meet them and shake their hand. 2 years' time, and you're going to wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and go, holy shit, I shook the hands of Journey. Are you going to wake up? My guess is no. You may like it that night. Maybe 2 days later, you'll be showing off your pictures on Facebook or something. But is that really going to be something they were like, yeah. So why is it so important for you? Drill down. Find out if there's any fuel to this. Okay? Maybe just be a whim. Like people are famous 1 minute and people want to get that photograph taken with them. Oh, no, I don't really know what they do. But, they're famous at the moment, They could be sitcom famous or, reality show famous. So I like to delve down to find out where the passion is. I want to find out where the fuel is. This guy, when I spoke to him, I found out that he had actually was sleeping on the couch of his buddies in college, and he was the lead singer in a cover band for Journey. And it was such an endearing story. Great guy, has gone through all of that adversity. Now he's very successful, very wealthy, very comfortable, no longer sleeping on his friend's couch. But he informed me of how Journey had actually been like the theme tune to so many points of his life, so many chapters. His life was an album of Journey tunes, and he'd come full circle. So I said, this is something, these guys have given you your theme tune. Meeting and shaking their hands, that ain't going to do it. That ain't going to climax this. This is not going to wake you up in a cold sweat. And he was like, well, I'm like, this has got to be a climax. This has to be a finale with no possible sequel. We need to see how far we can take this. So I managed to reach out to Journey. I used a couple of connections to make some introductions. I do that. I leapfrog off of connections. If I know someone that knows someone, I get them to introduce me because then I come from a source of credibility. And I leapfrogged, and I got to talk to Journey, and I told him about this story and about how that music had been the theme tune for this guy's life in so many ups and downs, and how we needed to complete this cycle. We actually got him on stage, and he sang 4 tunes live on stage in San Diego with the entire band, and is now deemed as the shortest-term lead singer of Journey. So he went from singing as a cover band in shitty little college bars to actually singing on stage with the band itself, and that has no sequel available.
No, truly incredible. And, obviously there's 2 sides to every coin. So you made his dream come true, but Journey also needed to say yes to that opportunity. Yeah. And I'm sure they're not just letting, any big fan, who loves singing Journey karaoke to get up there on stage for them. So,
well, you never ask a question where no can be the answer. That's the first tip.
Tell us more.
If you want someone to do something, so let me explain that one a little bit more.
Please.
Let's use Journey. If I am going to communicate with you, 2 things can be assumed. One, that I'm contacting you because I want something. Okay? Otherwise, why am I contacting you? You can assume that I'm contacting you because I want something. Yeah. So both of us already have that assumption, and it's an accurate one. So you can get it out of the way straight off the bat, and you say, hey, I'm contacting you because I have something that I need, but and this is where the important thing is, hit them quickly within the first 5 to 10 seconds as to why you should be on that call, why you should stay on that conversation, what's in it for you. So you can contact them and go, hey, I have something that I want to speak to you about, but I know you've got a cause. I know you've got a book coming out. I know you've got a film you're promoting. I know you've got an album. I know you're on tour. But there's so many different reasons.
Yeah.
Now, you can do all that research before you get in front of someone. So you can know all of those things. And when I was going for Journey, I knew 2 things that were of value to me. I knew a lot more, but 2 of them had come out in my hot button. One, Journey was going back on tour in such a long time. We've seen a lot of the older bands come back on these revival tours.
Right.
This was Journey's. So they were going back on the road. Surely it would be handy if I told my audience that this rock band was going back on. So they get free advertising out of me, free promotion. But hey ho, so can other people. I also discovered that the drummer's son was autistic. Well, my client's brother's son was also autistic. So why don't we wrap this around a way of announcing Autism Speaks? Why don't we get behind this to actually push a foundation, a charity, and hopefully this will ignite more money to come in so that we can finally find a cure. So when I went to them, I was able to say, look, I've got something that I want, but this is what I want to do for you. I want to promote your tour, your revival album, and I also want to raise awareness for Autism Speaks. If those things are of interest to you, then I would like to speak to you about doing this. And so you position. It's always position the ask. I wanted to give them something that was so valuable to them, both on a materialistic getting them out there, but also on a heartstring. And of course, the drummer got behind it in a heartbeat and was like, I love this. I was like, right, now we should talk about details. So I didn't find them up and say, hey, I've got a client who's going to pay a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
Can we do this? Because one of the shortest answers out there is no. You know, people's knee-jerk reaction. If you ask someone, hey, can I do this? That knee-jerk reaction, if they don't know the full details, is just to go no. So you're not giving yourself the ability to be able to give them that story. Give them the story and say, hey, look, this is what I want and this is what's in it. I need to understand what are the steps that need to be done for this to happen. What do I need to do for that to happen? They can't look at you and go, no. Because it's a stupid answer. They make themselves look like idiots by answering no to a question where no wasn't a possible answer. You don't phone up the Vatican and say, hey, can I get a client married there? Because the answer that I can say is no. So you contact them and say, I have this and I want something to happen. What do I need to do in order for this to happen? Now, that's positioning. That's the commencement of a communication and a conversation. And with a conversation, you can steer it the way you want. And if it starts going down a path you don't, then again, ask a question that can't be answered with a no. Yeah. Unless no is the answer you want. Now, halfway into the Bocelli Academia, when everything was going well, I actually spoke to the person there. I said, have you ever done this before? I was leading myself wide open. And they went, no, we have not. So then you can respond with, fantastic. We're making history. We're actually doing something that no one's ever done before. I don't know about you, but that's exciting the pants off me. What about you? And they're like, this is exciting. Great. You get 2 people passionate about something, it's invincible.
Wow. Steve, thank you so much for sharing that wisdom with us. My follow-up question is in regards to everyone who's tuning in here. Let's say that the person that they're looking up, they want to work with, be in a relationship or whatever, that there isn't an abundant amount of information available on the internet. So maybe they can't quite do the prep work going into the conversation as to, all right, these are the things that the person is interested in. I know these are the things that the person stands for and what their interests are in general. So my question is, in building relationship with someone, whether on the phone or when you're present with them, how do you find out what that password is to get what they to hear and learn what they ultimately want so you can serve them?
Well, nowadays, if they're going for anyone that's got a profile, so it doesn't have to be Elon Musk or Richard Branson. It could be a local businessman. It could be an attorney. It could be a developer. It could be a local flower shop. With the amount of social media we have now, I think your ability to not find out something about them is pretty small. You can usually find out that if they're in the same restaurant, or if you see them, like you mentioned about whiskey, I'm often seen drinking whiskey. So, add 2 and 2 together and go, he likes whiskey. You don't see me with a glass of wine very often. So you can actually find out a lot of information very quickly about people by looking up Facebook, by looking up Instagram, LinkedIn, all of those kind of things. You can find out things. But if you can't, in the rarity that there's someone that you want to get in front of, then you need to understand why it's important to you. And you need to position yourself. If you are completely stark of any information on them, then boldness, transparency. Go up and say, look, I'm sorry to take up 2 seconds of your time, but I have an ask, but I'm going to give you that ask in a second. My first ask is, what can I do for you? I have a following. I have a tribe. I'm going to ask you to do this for me, but I want you to know that I am twice as enthusiastic for doing something for you. Now, how do we continue this conversation? Something like that. Go in there with complete transparency. I find many people are cynical, and the more profile they are, more cynical they are. You look at Richard Branson. Someone walks towards Richard Branson in a party, and they make eye contact. Richard is going through 30,000 things in his head, and he's asking himself, who's this? Are they on the same playing field as me? Are they lower than me? Where's the pecking order? What are they going to ask? Are they just a fan that wants a photograph? Or are they a potential business opportunity? All these things are going through. You have to quickly establish, are you a confident person that should be conversing with Richard to do business together? You've got to perceive. You walk up. I see this so many times, and it embarrasses me. I see people walk up to people that they want to speak to, and they physically bow. You watch it. You'll be surprised. You can watch it on TV. Someone will walk up to a celebrity and they go, oh, hi, how are you? They will crouch. And they will bow. The second you do that, you've established a pecking order. You put the other person on a pedestal, which puts them further away from you. You can't get on a level playing field anymore. But you watch the amount of people that when they walk up to someone they want to talk to, they will put their hand out to make the connection, to shake the hand, and they will physically bow. They go, oh, it's great to meet you. And they will do, just for a heartbeat of a second, bang, you've lost your position.
Wow. It naturally makes me think, and probably everyone who's listening, are we bowers when we find ourselves in these situations?
You watch it.
For me personally, I love a good warm introduction, because then the credibility, the social proof is right there. If I get an introduction to someone, and I feel very uncomfortable going up to, I went up to Jeff Bezos the other day at the Summit conference in LA, and I actually was pretty happy with the way that I approached him. But a lot of the time I go up there like not knowing what to say, and usually it never works out because I am A, putting them on a pedestal, and B, I'm not operating with that sense of confidence and intention in order to get their attention and show, hey, I'm someone worth conversing with.
Yep. Yeah, no, you're right. It's a tough one. I said to you earlier that I leapfrog off of credible relationships. Because of social media, we can actually look at the people that are in our circle and find out what are the sandpits they play in. And you can turn around to them and go, hey, I am trying to get to A, and I see you know B. Quickest route is A to B. Can you please make an introduction to get me to talk to that person? Can you please whisper in that ear and say, look, this guy's trying to reach out to you. We're both friends. Trust me, this is a good friend. If you, and this is the most important part of this podcast. So I'm laying it out there quick. If your relationships are weak, you ain't getting anywhere. But if you've got a strong relationship with that someone, they will help you. And if I have someone come to me that I respect, admire, love, and they say, Steve, my friend's Jimmy. If Jimmy's a friend of yours and you're a friend of mine, I'm going to want to speak to him. Okay? If that relationship is weak and someone comes out and go, hey, Steve, hey, we haven't spoken for 15 years, but I really want to introduce you to my pal because you've got this book and he'd be really good. You're not going to take that. You're going to go, hey, I appreciate you reaching out. I wish you all the best, say hi to the dogs or whatever. And you're just going to palm it off. Yeah. You're going to get rid of it. The biggest currency that everyone should be focusing on now is not Bitcoin, it's bloody relationships. That's the greatest ROI. And as you said quite openly, getting an introduction from someone that's solid and credible will move mountains for you, and openly and really strongly open the doors that you want.
You are a master at sustaining relationships, finding things you like, sending gifts. You're also one man, and just building relationships is only a part of what you do. You've actually got to create the experiences for people. And I'm guessing as well, you're asking for favors a lot in order to leverage all these opportunities. And my question for you is, how do you manage all of these relationships? There's all these people are probably reaching out to you on a daily basis. How do you do it all? How do you sustain these relationships?
Well, there's some great CRM programs out there, whether it be using the Simple Exchange and just making notes. For years, all I used to do was put in calendars. So if I spoke with you today, I may put a calendar invite in there for myself in like 2 weeks' time. Have we spoken? And it could be as simple as that. It could be a case of, he made a remark about my whiskey, but he promised he's going to call me in 8 months' time. So I make a note in 8 months' time. Did he actually follow up? Shall I reach out to you and call your bluff? And I may send you an email, or better still, a little video text, and just go, hey, you didn't follow up. Therefore, did you A, forget, or B, are you full of shit? And just call it. It depends on the relationship you're trying to build.
Yeah.
Another really cheap one that I use, which I really like, magazine subscriptions. Okay, magazines are going bankrupt every single bloody day. Okay, there are groups that you can join where you get discounted subscriptions. So if we're sitting here, and anyone that's watching this on video, you can see this is a real cool environment. Okay, so you go out and you look at cool vibe magazines, and then what you do for $18 a year, I subscribe you to a magazine, and then bang, a month later you get a magazine, and it's come from me. And I said, hey, you had a cool vibe. I loved the deco. I loved everything that was going on. I saw this really cool magazine. I subscribed you to it. Enjoy yourself. Every 3 months, you're going to get that magazine. Every time that magazine lands, you're going to think of me. I have people contacting me now, and I can literally look at the time on my watch and go, oh, magazines have landed. And I will get 20, 30 people contacting me, and they won't mention the magazine, but I'll know based on the date that they're doing it, they've got a magazine that's triggered them for them to reach out to me. So magazines are a really cheap way of making sure that every quarter you're in their mind. Secondly, depending on the relationships you've got, time it, date it, and in 6 months' time, reach out to these 100 people. Okay? 6 months' time, reach out to these 20. And then make a note and look back. Last time I contacted them, how did I do it? It was a letter from when I was staying at a hotel in Venice. It was a video message that I texted them. It was a private YouTube message that I sent them. It was at a concert nearby that I invited them to, and we watched the show together. Oh, and he made a comment that he wanted to do this. Ask him if he did it. Just little things like this. It sounds like a lot of work, but actually with any kind of CRM program, or just basically Microsoft Outlook and sending yourself notes and calendar reminders, and then what you can do is when you've spoken to that person and you make a little note in that calendar reminder, then change the date of that calendar reminder, so all of these notes are there when it comes up of what you did in the past.
It's brilliant, and I'm sure there's so many people thinking, wow, I want to have those relationships, but there's no way in hell I'm going to do that. And
that's right, because the second you think that,
right.
Bingo, you're smart,
right.
You're right.
Yeah. That leads to my next question, and I'm a big advocate for digital humanity, and I gave a TEDx talk about how to create authentic connections in this digital world where we have the opportunity to be more connected than ever. And then, are we really, or are we just projecting these avatars? Are we more disconnected? And it's something that you speak about very passionately in your book. And I know you do send a lot of selfie style videos to people, to build relationships. And something that I've learned is a 15-second video can totally transform a relationship. Something that's like so small, but you talk about like the quality of relationships with technology in the future. And I would love to get your take on this idea of digital humanity.
You're right. Every day there's a new platform in which you can communicate with someone. And all it's doing is diluting the actual communication we actually have. And it's giving us an ability to yell a message and hope you respond. And if I don't get enough likes, then, oh, you didn't like me. And it's a horrible spiral. And we've all got smartphones, but I constantly ask people, when was the last time you actually used that iPhone to phone someone? You know? And a lot of people just don't. I've often wondered to myself, you know, I may just get an iPad. You know, screw the iPhone, because not many people are calling on it. You know, we're Skyping or Facebook calls. I get so many people that actually Facebook call me now because they haven't got my phone number. So I'm a great believer that communication is made up of a number of things. It's made up with tonality. You know, it's made up with pace. It's made up with pitch. You know, you could text someone and it says, hey, let's get together tonight at 7 p.m. for a beer. Okay. Or you could just turn that video on you from the smartphone and just go, dude, we have not spoken for way too long tonight, 7 p.m. beer. Let's tell dirty jokes. You send that video to someone on SMS text, a number of things happen. One, all of your emails are flooding in. Your texts are flooding in. What do you answer first? I've not met anyone that turns around and says, oh, I answer my 200 emails first before I go to texts. Bollocks. The better thing about it is when you video text, it pops up with a little picture of your face going, you know, and someone like, oh, what the hell's this? And you push it because you're now seeing the face, the tone, the pace, the energy, the passion behind actually wanting to meet you that cannot be replicated in that tweet, Instagram, Facebook, direct message, email. It gives you far more of the personality and the depth of that request. And do you know what's even better? I can video something with more content faster than I can bloody type it.
Totally.
So why type it?
Yeah.
I literally will go through days where I will try to avoid an email. Someone will email me and I'll say, that's good. Video. Ding. John, got your message. Loved it. We're going to do... And I will literally respond via that message, and I will text it to them. It's getting far more response, and it builds up that continuity. It builds up that communication. You're far more energetic. Yeah. And just like your room has all of these energies of pictures, visual wins.
Fully agree with that. And we had a guest on the show 4 or 5 weeks ago, Ashke Nanavati, and he sent video messages to the Dalai Lama and to Jack Canfield and somebody else, big name people, video messages to people he didn't even know. And they then wrote forwards for his book because it clearly sticks through the clutter. It gets through. Another thing just to add to it is, you know, those times when, just for everybody listening, you know, those times when someone writes you and maybe you forget to write them back in the moment. You're like, oh, I'll get back to them. And maybe it's a week later and you haven't written them back. That is the perfect opportunity to send a video or a voice note. The person's probably already a little annoyed that you haven't responded. But when they hear the tone of your voice, that you care and, you know, taking responsibility and you're getting around to them now, that instantly creates that understanding and that connection that probably a text, which they don't quite know what the context is, it just doesn't capture.
Yeah, you're right. And I heard someone once say to me before that every email you write, you need to read it to yourself and envisage that it's being read in the worst possible way that it can. Because you can send and I'm a great believer, you know, this podcast is not an example of that, but I'm a great believer in brevity. And whenever I actually send an email, hell, I can send 2 lines and that's a long email for me.
Yeah.
But I'm a great believer in brevity is king. But whenever I send an email to someone, I always read it and I go, okay, what could you possibly take in this email that's bad? I don't want to be easy to understand. I want to be impossible to misunderstand. And when you send something to someone, that person may have lost their dog. That person may have, you know, got divorced that morning. That person may have lost a job. Okay, they're in a negative, dark place. Now, if you're happy and you knock over a cup of coffee, you go, I'll mop it up and make myself another coffee. If you're having a bad day and you knock over the coffee, oh my God, it's the end of the world. Okay, you need to calculate that when you send that email, is there anything in there that I could possibly perceive in any way whatsoever as not what my message is? So I've always been a key believer in look at it as the worst possible way that you read it. And then send it out. And the good thing is, if you send a video, That last minute of my rant is completely irrelevant because you cannot misunderstand what I'm saying when it's a video and it's my face yelling at you to come and have a beer with me. It's impossible to misunderstand.
An irresistible offer indeed. Steve, since this show is all about being real, and I'm using the word real because we share a distaste for the word authentic, because once you start saying, oh, I'm authentic, are you really? So my question for you is, when is a time in your life that like your authenticity has been really challenged in terms of remaining true to who you are?
Yeah, the tone changes there, man. You know, that's my scar. I was doing very well. I was now living in Switzerland. I was working for Ferrari, and my life's good. You know, I'm with the same woman that I met at 16. Everything's cool. Now, bearing in mind, I reckon when I was born, it was in a black T-shirt with a glass of whiskey, riding a motorcycle. I came
with the
out
piercing as well?
Yeah, I came out like a bat out of hell. And I've always been that boy. And as you know, and anyone who's just listening to this and not seeing it, you know, there's a bike out front. I'm in a black T-shirt. I haven't got a whiskey, but it's too early. But that will be sorted later. There was a point in my life where I did what all entrepreneurs do. We screw up what's good. You know, if it's working, we find a way to fuck it up. And I started questioning how I was. What do I look like? How do I sound? You know, I started questioning it, double guessing it, and started buying suits. Literally went out one day and I started buying suits. And then I went and bought a car. You know, I don't have a car. I collect motorcycles. I don't have a car. And I went out and I bought this car. And I started kind of like, you know, turning up to my means. I took my earrings out. I took my eyebrow piercing out. I took out my earrings. Come the weekend, I'd put them back in again because I felt it was me, but I didn't feel as though it would be good for business. I started getting more clients, started making more money, started losing relationships. And I thought, hang on a minute. I'm getting more clients. I'm making more money. I'm not having so much fun. I used to go out and get drunk with my clients. I used to go out and fly on jets. I used to do shit. Now I wasn't doing it, but I suddenly realized something's wrong here. And there's a horrible story which sounds so arrogant, and I really pray that no one takes it this way. But there was a party down in Monaco during the Formula One Grand Prix. Monaco has the largest square foot of billionaires during the Monaco Grand Prix than anywhere, period. And I've got this 3-story yacht that I'm having a party on. And I'm tired. I'm getting off this yacht and we're going to get in this car and we're going to drive home. And next door to me was a yacht that was a bit bigger. It was about 2-3 meters bigger, but it just felt as though it was bigger. I reversed my car up, my little Ferrari, and I got my wife to take a photograph of me outside the car, outside that boat. Now, went back to Switzerland, and this was back in the 90s, so we didn't have digital. You know, you stick your roll of film in an envelope, you throw it in the postal, you know, hopefully in the next 10 years it comes back to you with your pictures. And I'm looking at these pictures, and I got to this picture, and I suddenly saw someone that I didn't know. And what was even more ridiculous was they had bought a car to impress you, wearing a suit to impress you, stood in front of a boat that wasn't even his for the party. Everything about that picture was disgusting. I got completely hammered that night, went into a really dark place, and I woke up in the morning and realized I didn't like that person in the boat. And I complained about it with my wife, and we talked it through. And there was an event coming up in Switzerland that I'd gone to every month for like the last 18 months. It's where everyone went to, you know, all the players that, you know, were in my world. I said to Claire, I said, I'm gonna get on the bike and just go there. Maybe the social dynamics changed. Maybe people have changed. Maybe these events have changed. It's not me, maybe it's them. So I'm going to go back and just sit on the edge of the bar and watch and see if the makeup has changed of these groups. So I turned up on the bike, turned up a black T-shirt, went to the bar, put my helmet down. And you know, when you go to these events a lot of the time, you get to meet these people and you know they're called Billy, Bob, John, but you don't know them. You don't really know their name. There was this guy there. He'd had a couple of beers in him, and he walked past me, and I'd been at this event for 18 months. Never missed one. It was like a Thursday night thing. And he walked past me and he looked at me and he went, "Hey, Steve, how you doing?" I can't remember what his name is. But the guy turned around and went, "I haven't seen you here for ages." And then he carried on his way to the toilet. And it hit me that I hadn't been there. Even though I'd attended each month, slowly getting evolved into these suits, taking out the earrings, I had stopped turning up. This avatar had turned up. This person that I wanted you to talk to, but not me. I went home that night and I told my wife about this story and I went, I need to show up or not be there. And I love my suits, but I remember putting them to the back, sold the car, and that was it. I said, I either show up or I don't turn up. And that was my turning moment. It affects you. And like all entrepreneurs, we start trying to be what we think you want us to be without realizing you fell in love with us for being who we are in the first stage. So that was my dark moment. Thanks for upsetting me and bringing it up.
Something that Brene Brown has said is that when we are being true to ourselves, when we're being authentic, we don't need to try to fit in because we'll naturally belong. You know, we love each other. The most attractive people are the ones that are comfortable in their own skin. They're the charismatic people who own who they are.
Yep. The ones that don't apologize for being them.
Yeah. So follow-up question for you, Steve. What are 3 ways to know you're being boldly and unapologetically real as fuck?
When it takes no energy. When I don't have to think. When people ask me to prepare for something, preparing for a speech, preparing for a podcast, I put it aside. I'm not going to read it through. I don't want to give you something. Like me and you, we did not pass these questions backwards and forwards.
No.
We have not prepared for this. I turned up, met you for the first time, told myself within 3 seconds I was staying in this room because my gut told me to.
Nice. That's authentic.
There was transparency. Me and you shot the shit for a few seconds, just had a bit of a jam. I got a cool ass cup that matches my helmet, so that's going home with me. Everything was right. And so there was no effort. I find that if something starts becoming an effort, and if you're talking to someone you don't like, your shoulders change, your posture changes, your tone changes. Yeah, well, I understand where you're coming from, but maybe everything about you changes and bang, you're in the effort mode. I don't want any effort on anything other than what I'm doing. But when I'm talking to someone, there needs to be zero effort in it. And if there is, I shouldn't be in that conversation.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I don't know if that was one or all 3, but so passionate and bold and lively, and it seemed effortless.
There you go. Then it was me.
All right, Steve, it is time for the truth challenge.
Oh, dear.
Here it is. So I've come up with 5 questions specifically for you. I'm going to give you 30 seconds to answer each. And it's your job to answer them honestly and authentically. Do you accept the challenge?
I accept the challenge.
So question number 1 for you, Steve. What really pisses you off and irks you more than anything else?
People that say fuck to sound authentic. I hate these people that are now on stage and they're dropping the F-bomb trying to grab brownie points. It's disgusting. Stop it.
I just used the word fuck like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, well, we do because we're chilling. But when you see a girl guy jump up there and say F to try and sound raw and authentic, you just know it doesn't fit.
Question number 2 for you. This is our giving confessions question. What is something that you're embarrassed to admit, maybe even ashamed to admit, that you just don't generally share publicly, but you're willing to share today anyways with listeners of the One and Only because it could be helpful?
Oh, dear. What do I constantly have to badger myself to keep up with the lessons I teach. We can all sit here and spout off 10 wisdoms, and then we go home, and at the end of the week, we go, well, we only did 6 of those. And actually, I didn't follow up with that person. So I'm constantly reinforcing myself, hey, walk the talk.
Question number 3, and you read my mind. You're 1 question ahead of me there. But it leads to the perfect follow-up question is, what is the hardest lesson that you share in your book for you to practice?
Keeping up with the people. Everything else can fail, but as long as I've got the relationships, I'm in business. So I often go, oh, hang on a minute. I didn't do that. This got in the way. I did this interview. I had to fly to a different country. And you can get behind, and you have to challenge yourself. And I'm a great believer that if it's not in the calendar, it's not done. Now, we book time in the calendar to go to the dentist. We book time in the calendar to have a podcast interview. We need to make sure we book time to do all of these things.
Question number 4. What is your greatest opportunity for growth?
Being open-minded. I listen to absolutely everyone. I listen to absolutely everything. I will ask people, like the annoying 4-year-old, stupid questions. I have asked rocket scientists stupid questions just to get an answer that makes sense to me. And if it doesn't, I go, well, that makes no sense to me. And then I've got them to re-explain it to me. And
question number 5 for you is, what is your wildest dream to achieve in your life?
Do you know, I'm not a very wild person. I live vicariously through my clients. So I love just walking down the beach with a cup of coffee early in the morning with my wife. And if I can do that every day, then I'm going to put that as my number 1 dream.
The True Challenge with the one and only Steve Sims.
Thank you. Good questions.
I do want to challenge you, though, with question number 5. And I'm going to pull a trick right out of your book here. So in your book, you say, you ask people what their wildest dreams are, and you said that 10 times out of 10, people sell themselves short and dilute it. So were you selling yourself short with that answer?
I have been in about 4 different countries this year. I have been underground, overground, in mosques, in temples. I get to do things that I never dreamt of doing because a client did. So I thankfully am on a free roller coaster by just riding with them. There's been people before that have gone, oh, you should sell out of Bluefish. But what would I do? That's when I would start answering that question. But all the time that I've got people out there that are imagining it, thinking in it, and paying for it, I get to live vicariously off of them.
Thank you for sharing, Steve. It was fun to challenge you on your own question.
Yeah, good one. You've done it a few times in this.
So as we wrap this up, what can we do to support you?
Change. The book, as anyone knows out there, when you release a book, you're not buying a home on the beach with a book sale. You get your retainer and stuff like that. So it's not a big money making thing. But one of my reasons for releasing this book was because I was scared at how people were actually building up relationships, how they were ignoring communication, how they were ignoring themselves by trying to become an Instagram avatar of how perfect their bloody life is. We all get shit on. We all get crapped on. We all get sued. And if you haven't, it's a matter of time, because it's what happens to entrepreneurs. We get the shit, we get the scars that make us really discover how tremendous we are. And the fight's not over when you get knocked down. It's over when you stop getting up. So I want people to just take the challenges on this book, take the challenges that you are giving with your people, and rise to them. Step up, and let's make a better world that we want to live in.
Absolutely amazing, Steve. And definitely buy the book. It is fantastic. You said earlier, like, I'm going to be following up with you in 8 months if I don't hear from you about the book. And I have a very good feeling. It was the exact lesson that I needed to hear at the perfect time. So
excellent.
Definitely get a copy of the book, and we'll link to that on the show notes page.
Thank you.
So this is a relatively new question that I've been asking kind of at the end of the interview. And since the show is all about being real, I'd love to know what's been your real experience here on this couch having this conversation. What's been that internal narrative?
So you did bring out some questions that I liked, that if anyone out there is a podcaster, listen to every other podcast and ignore those questions. It's so dull when you get into a podcast and it's the same questions, and we didn't have those here. One of the things I liked about being here was the color. I'm a great visual person. I like vibrance. I'm looking at a multicolored a rhino behind you. That's kind of like taking up the focus next to purple roller skates.
Yeah.
So I've liked the vibrance and the energy in this room. And I'm a great believer, because in my room, I have a blow up purple cow, because, I just think every room should have a blow up purple cow.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Seth, there I am. There's my cow. So I'm a great believer in the vibrance and the energy in everything you do. And if there's no energy, it doesn't work. But in here, there was a lot of energy. So I was pleased with it.
Cool. Thank you so much, Steve. My personal experience is I've enjoyed every second of this. And I knew I would when I was researching. I'm like, Steve is the exact guy you want to have a beer with. And to be able to just be blunt and throw it out all on the line. And this has just been so much fun. So I can't wait to share it out with everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity and all of your kind words. You're a true champ at getting through this kind of social experiment of a show, because sometimes I'll have guests on the couch that I can tell that they're tiring by the end of the show, because every question for the most part is a thought-provoking question.
Yeah.
Versus just teeing up the T-ball and allowing you to tell all the stories that you normally tell exactly how you usually tell them, because we want to look good naturally. And then when someone sets me up in a way that I can look good and say something that I've refined a million times, like, I'm going to go to that 10 times out of 10.
Yeah.
So it's been a great honor. What are your final words of wisdom, advice for listeners of the one and only to live a bold, epic dream life?
God, it's all about the passion. If there's no passion, there's no point. So I'm a great believer in just doing what I love doing, finding out what I love doing, and then doing it again.
The real life Wizard of Oz, the one and only Steve Sims. Let's drink some whiskey.
Yes.